I'm going to do a 5-minute quick partner marketing update. Molly Schenberger is going to help us with a quick partner program update. And then we're going to hand it over to some very fine fellows for a session all about winning with the Acquia DXP and hybrid headless. We'll close with Q&A as much as possible and then get to that quiz. So, all right, here's my section for a partner marketing update. One more slide, please. Terrific. So a quick catch up from Acquia Engage. Those of you that joined us last month, it's crazy. It's almost been a month to the day that Acquia Engage kicked off 2 days virtual session. It was an incredible experience. We got fantastic feedback from a lot of partners, a lot of the attendees. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors this year and to all of the partners that were able to attend and participate. We look forward to seeing what virtual events and hybrid events look like moving into the future, but we were really, really happy with Engage this year. All of the Engage content is now on demand on Acquia.com. So when you get this presentation, this will be clickable. You can go right to that on-demand content. If you don't want to wait, just go to Acquia.com right now, and one of those scrolling homepage banners will bring you to all of the on-demand content. Really good stuff. All the partner sessions, all of the Acquia-led sessions, all of our customer sessions, all of it's up there. Share it with your customers and prospects, share it with your team members. Keep the good content circulating. Next slide, please. In addition, I like to highlight all of the best assets that have been performing well for Acquia over the last couple of months. So this is your look at what's been really doing well from a content standpoint between September and October. Of course, all of the Engage Award case studies are top of mind for folks coming out of Engage. So these are some of the highest trafficked and clicked items you can see in that first column. Then we're highlighting some of the most visited blog posts from the last month or so. And the last column is ebooks. And one more reminder, these will all be linked when you get the presentation. So you can check out those articles, check out those different pieces of content. And this is a good opportunity for you guys to see what's trending, and try to understand, why is it trending? And do you guys have content that you can piggyback on top of this stuff so that you can be dovetailing with our messaging, our themes, creating your own blog posts, creating your next wave of ebooks and white papers, so on and so forth. Also from Engage, our Engage Award, the Engage Awards have been turned into a great case study gallery on Acquia.com. So when you get the presentation, click the link. It will bring you to the gallery of all of those great winners. We're really proud of all those winners. Congratulations if you were one of them. Congratulations if you were a finalist. Start now thinking about, as you look at these finalists, as you look at the winners, start thinking about what was different about the winning sessions to maybe yours if you submitted for an award. These are the kinds of things that we like to encourage partners to be thinking about many quarters in advance. As you're getting into new projects for 2021, we're going to do the Engage Awards in 2021 again, right? So be thinking about what you can do to elevate your status and your prospects of being a winner next year. Take a look through, see what kinds of themes and what kinds of metrics and results and narrative was built around these winning stories. And bring those into your next engagements with customers starting now and into 2021. One more slide, please. Terrific. So coming up, we're going to have a December Bootcamp, squeezing it in right before the holidays. It'll be on December 17th. You'll start to get notifications and invitations for that in the next few days. We plan to cover a sneak peek of some great partner program updates happening in 2021. We're also going to provide some great sales insights, right? So we often like to come at you with how to sell the Acquia solutions. That's going to be true in December. We're going to talk about some recent Drupal cloud wins and marketing cloud wins, tell you all about the stories, what factored into them, how we won. So don't miss another great session next month. All right, I'm going to hand it off to my partner in crime, Molly Schenberger, to take you through some partner program updates. Molly, take it away.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you today. I have a couple of exciting items to share with you, some enablement opportunities, and even some end-of-year freebies for all of you if you're interested. And then I'll close out with a housekeeping item before handing it over to our next set of presenters. So first up is the Acquia Cloud Next beta program for partners. You can go to the next slide, please, Ron. So Acquia Cloud Next is Acquia's next generation Kubernetes first cloud architecture. It combines over a decade of Acquia's Drupal hosting expertise with powerful AWS technologies and strategic partnerships. And this, of course, ensures even greater performance, security, and scalability than ever before. So Acquia Cloud Next is currently in a private customer beta, and we're now opening this up to our partner community to participate. You can go to the next slide for some more details on the program. So partners who opt to participate will receive a sandbox environment, which can be used to test a cloned non-production version of one of your or your customer's sites. We're expecting that beta participation will require no more than 1 to 2 hours of prep, process, and testing for most partners, plus a 30-minute phone call with one of our UX researchers just to learn more about your experience, what went well, what didn't, and what changes you and your team would like to see make its way into the product. So this is running for the next few months. We do have a goal of upgrading all of our customer applications early next year once the beta testing period ends. So if you are interested in participating, if you just click to the next slide, let your partner manager know. Many of you know me. You're welcome to reach out to me as well. I see a lot of familiar names in the attendee list, which I love. Or if you're not sure who to reach out to, just email partners@acquia.com. We'll review your request. We'll send over the beta agreement for you to review and sign. And then as soon as those next steps are in the works, start thinking of which single site Drupal 8 application you want to use during beta testing. And there's some tips over there on the right-hand side about selecting an application. We want to make sure that applications meet certain criteria and don't require some extra Acquia Cloud features, things like multiple databases, et cetera, et cetera. You can take a look at the slide, and of course, these will be shared. So a great opportunity to get advanced access to a new Acquia product. So next up is some partner enablement opportunities. So the first is we will be hosting a Drupal 8/Drupal 9 developer immersion. So this is a 5-day online course. It kicks off in mid-December. It runs from Monday, December 14th to Friday, December 18th. The hours are roughly 9 to 5. You can see the pricing there on the slide. This is for developers who have backgrounds in .NET, Cold Fusion, or other CMS frameworks and are looking to move to Drupal. You can have little experience or even no experience to participate in this online course. This training course is designed to prepare you for Acquia certification, although it's possible you might need some extra work on some Drupal projects before you're ready to pass. But if you do go to the next slide, Ron, just to let you all know, we do have Drupal 9 certification exams available today. So we have a site builder exam and our developer exam. You can see the prices there listed on the slide. And of course, coming soon, we will round out sort of the Drupal 9 certification track with exams for front-end specialists and back-end specialists. Go to the next slide. And as we're coming to the end of 2020, we have found ourselves with a surplus of certification vouchers. And so we're making them available to all of you. We can give up to 5 vouchers per partner while supplies last. And so exams range in price from $155 US to $350 US. So this is a really nice opportunity for your team to get certified. Hopefully, maybe there's some downtime over the holidays. These vouchers will be good for any exam for up to 6 months. So if you're interested In claiming some of these available vouchers, just reach out to your partner manager or send an email to partners@acquia.com and we'll take a look and follow up. You can go to the next slide. This is just a list of all of the certification exams within the certification program. So exams for Drupal 7, 8, and 9, and then for some of the Acquia products. The certification exams are, you can take them online. There's an online proctored option, or you can take them in person at one of Criterion's 750 locations globally. Many of the testing centers are closed to protect staff and test candidates during the coronavirus pandemic. You can find more information on our website about testing centers that are open. And then my last update is really just a housekeeping item here about the partner finder. So this slide has some animation on it if you click it a couple more times. So the partner finder is associated with Acquia.com. It's available for customers and prospects who are looking for services providers to help them execute their projects, to just browse what we have in our partner community. These are just some examples. There are cards that appear when you enter your search criteria, and then you can click into those cards to view a full partner finder listing. We are in the process of moving to a new partner portal, and so the ability to edit your partner finder listing has been temporarily disabled. If you would like to make changes to your partner finder listing, we'll be distributing a form in the follow-up for this bootcamp presentation today. There's a little screenshot of it on the next slide. So all you need to do is just update that form, send it back to us. If your logo has been updated since the last time you updated the finder, send that along and we will apply those updates for you. It takes a couple of minutes and just up to a day for the update to take effect. So it's pretty quick. And of course, if you have any questions, you can contact your partner manager or send an email to partners@acquia.com. And so now I will hand it over to our two next presenters. We have Ron Northcutt and Alan Botwright. Ron is a principal solutions architect for Acquia. Alan is a master solutions architect. They also answer to the titles general masters of the universe. So take your pick.
Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it. Great. So we're gonna jump right in. So what we want to talk today about is the DXP and hybrid solutions and why this is a better way to go. And this is not just coming from us, even though we've been saying it for a while, as I'm sure you're all aware, but coming from the industry. But to kind of take a step back, I want to talk about vending machines because that is incredibly relevant, as we'll see. So the first vending machine was around, I think it was 1 BC. It was Hero of Alexandria. You put in a coin, it dispenses holy water. Really clever, really simple. We've come a long way since then. And if you take a look at the world right now, you'll see that Japan has probably the most advanced and the highest number of vending machines. I think there's one for every 25 people. But when you ask why they're popular and why these machines are so useful, there's a lot of things that pop up that are things that we want to think about for our own industry. Security, reliability, convenience, low cost to operate. And this whole idea around self-service is really key. That's what's going to make these things really, really scale. So we want to keep that in mind as we start moving forward, because when we talk about how do we really take advantage of the DXP and of this rapidly changing landscape that we find ourselves in, that concept is going to come back up. Today, we're going to hit a few things. We're going to talk about the actual challenge that we have. And spoiler, it's not technology. That's not really going to be the challenge. We're going to talk about what good looks like, what we're trying to achieve with a composable experience platform, what the goals and architectures look like, what some approaches look like with the underlying model, Specifically, we're going to use the Acquia Commerce Framework as an example of how you can apply some of those patterns. And then we're going to wrap it up by talking about some of the features very quickly that you get from the only open DXP. So if you remember nothing else from today, these are the three things that you really should focus on remembering. Number one, it is critically important to empower the business user. And we're going to see this rise of low code and no code tools across the industry is going to be very, very disruptive. We want to make sure we're on the front of that. Number two, that enables us to unlock IT innovation. And that's not just innovation in terms of what you can accomplish, but it's in terms of what you can, the goals you're going to be going after for yourself, more importantly for your customers. And number three, if done properly, you should actually become more efficient as you scale. The more sites you have, the more content you have, the more systems you have integrated, it should actually become more efficient, not less. But again, that's the challenge we're going to face. So I'll pass it off to Alan, who is going to talk about this challenge that we're going to be facing.
Thanks, Ron. Next slide, please. So part of this, in the last few years, as we've moved away from, our customers have moved away from thinking about basic websites and actually into experience focus. And if you look at what we're dealing with in terms of complexity here and the expectation itself specifically is this here. We're not just dealing with basic builds anymore. The audience that we're dealing with as well, who need to have specific control over these experiences, is changing. This is evolving at a very fast pace. Certainly in the last 18 months, I've seen the ambition in projects and the MVPs, expectation for those MVPs, combined with, in a lot of cases, with reduced budgets, all pulling in this direction. Next slide, please. Although the expectation, if you could just open up that slide completely, just let that play out. We're also dealing with a lot of legacy, and more legacy than we've ever had to deal with before. And we call this the multi problem. These things are typically growing through an organic process. They're understandable. And it really is how do you kind of begin to make sense out of this chaos, really. So part of that is, in my experience and from the coalface, is actually a lot of the issues are not so much the technology, to Ron's point. Next slide, please. It's understanding the mindset blockers. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk about elephants here, other than that this is the elephant in the room. And all of us are kind of guilty of this to some extent. Is we're approaching, I've been with Acquia for 6.5 years now, and I'm quite surprised at some of my interactions are and way projects are run that they don't really differ much from 10 years ago, or maybe even not longer than that. My background's the agency side originally. And I think just looking at one of those reasons, next slide, please, Ron. I think to try and distill down what the problem is in this area is a lot of the mindset, and this goes for our customers, our clients at the end of this, as well as some of the processes we have in our own organizations, which is really designed around a monolithic website build, still, the process that we go through. And ultimately, as said, the expectation here is a seamless journey. And this side here is talking about the larger this gap between these two things we call the innovation gap. So the business agility, the time to market, all of these things are being impacted. And there's probably a slightly overused quote there. That's Einstein. I think it's true in this case. The expectation is to build seamless journeys and customer experiences. But later on, we're going to talk about a 5-step framework into getting towards this. But I think it's fair to say, in my experience, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, is our own thinking, our own paradigm, if you like, just to throw that word in there, is often to blame. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and I would just say, as I said before, it's not the technology, it's how we choose to apply it. And as Alan says, on our team, I lead the demo team over here. It's been a huge shift that we've had to make in the way that we think about these tools and how to apply them. And once we started making these changes, we started to see some really incredible results.
Absolutely. So the composable enterprise, you're going to hear this a lot today. This comes from, the term was coined by Gartner. And it's interesting, what the interpretation of this, you can see on the slide here, we've got a kind of key challenges, but really we're looking at some areas here around slowing down organizations. A lot of that's to do with agility, which we're going to talk about a bit more as well. And when I say agility, it's moving the emphasis from what would particularly be the domain of developers or things that developers don't want to do specifically, and the classic bottleneck between the business and IT, and actually looking at, as tools have evolved in the low code area, actually some of these tasks can be more than competently delivered by non-technical people. They indeed should be, because they're experience focused, and that's kind of the point of some of this today. What the composable enterprise is saying is really, it's putting that agility first, time to market, time to value, but also less reliance on IT, allowing IT to focus on high value innovation projects, which ultimately drive the business forward. And that's a route towards the digital transformation we all talk about often and rarely deliver. So you can see here some around the ideas of hybrid and headless, which we're going to get to hybrid, what that means specifically today. But what I can say at this point is it's very aligned to the Gartner concept of the composable enterprise. Next slide, please, Ken. Not Ken, sorry, Ron, even. So we get, guess who I work with often? He's called Ken.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to hear the end of that one. Getting the right balance here. So it's a good way of looking at it as well. Through our consultancy we're doing, and this, I always like to start off sort of early engagements with this. We are really trying to get this balance, and it is a balancing act. There's the business flexibility, the agility, and that increasingly involves looking at having the right teams and the right people involved to own some of those responsibilities. But also, like from the IT side, repeatability, reuse, governance. These things have to be there. Repeatability and reuse is key. If this balance is off to the right-hand side too much, you've got your time to market, the speed of change is going to be slow. If it's too skewed on the other side, it's going to be a free-for-all, and it's going to be a mess, and you're probably going to come into all kinds of compliance issues, consistency issues, those kind of things. So it has to be a balancing act. Hence the next slide, please.
And this is exactly what Gartner calls out as one of those challenges, was the finding that balance.
Yeah, so it's coming into those ideas. It's as we begin, the tooling itself is giving you more options, and particularly around low code, where things that typically will go through the old paradigm I mentioned earlier on, the designing, often, to be very open, it's reinventing the wheel. We know the patterns that work across both from a technical point of view, but also from a design point of view. And also the tooling has got to a point where we can abstract this problem away to a very simple interface to allow for self-service control. And package business capabilities as well. I mean, this is one of the other core ideas. As we're building increasingly more complex capabilities, and we're introducing those to our experience layer, then we should be able to do that, packaging up, reusing powerful integrations, and commerce would be a perfect example of this. How do those systems work together? How can we create reuse and microservices coupling within a hybrid context is something we're going to get into a bit more about. But this allows for putting the control in the hands of people who understand the experience, the people actually on the hook for delivering business results with experience, and also allowing our IT teams to be able to focus on what they're good at. Next slide, please. So this is a typical platform architecture time there. Next slide, please, Ron. So I think I've kind of talked to some of this to a bit.
Sorry.
That's okay. We've covered some of this already. So the standardization and the agility parts of things, and I think I've been talking too much on the slide, so let's move this along a bit. Standardization, that's next. Next slide, please. So looking at sort of some of the typical legacy platform architecture, and this goes right back to, I was saying earlier on, some of our thought processes as well, how we think about a project and how we delegate the various activities and responsibilities across those projects is often not necessarily the right way forward with some of the modern approaches here. So as an example of that, next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Here's an example of a typical platform legacy. So it's my phone going here. It's an absolute disaster. So from a point of view, this is one way of looking at what a legacy platform would be. So we're introducing the idea of personas and focus here as well. This is very key. On the left-hand side, we're talking about the people who are typically involved in a platform. So that obviously a lot of the control around content has been there for a while. And indeed, the CMS itself is often being a point of collaboration for projects. Just naturally, it's evolved into that. But you can see here, there's a huge focus on development going below the line here. And this is typically what we see, and this is typically what we've built in the past as well. It was actually what we're looking to move towards. Next slide, please. Is this idea. You can see straight away, we are refocusing where the experience, we're putting that first. And this is where we're starting to bring together these ideas of agility, self-service, where when you do have low code capabilities, this becomes possible. This allows us to repackage capabilities because we're democratizing concepts of layout tools, simple layout tools, content, and then powerful capabilities that integrating into systems like commerce systems, for example, can be put at the fingertips of people to be able to create content-driven commerce pages, reusing powerful integrations that largely are orchestrated on the client side to be able to deliver richer, faster experiences with less bottleneck on IT. But also being mindful of these people, these personas need to work in parallel, and you should be able to build your Drupal code base out, and your JavaScript developers in whatever particular framework should be able to interact and add components to this platform. And how you orchestrate all this together is an ideal platform architecture. These people need to cohabit, and it shouldn't be a linear process here. We should allow for concurrency of activity and enriching a platform's capability and thus leading to a better experience.
And one thing here is, again, to come back to that elephant in the room, this is that shift when you change the mindset away from building an application or a specific solution into thinking about building a platform, even if it's a platform for just a single application, or if it's a platform for multiple applications, it's still a different way to think.
Absolutely, that idea of productizing this as well makes a lot of sense. Next slide, please, Ron. So low code, why low code? We're looking at reusable set of components. And I think we all intuitively know there's certain patterns out there, as I mentioned earlier on, where we can bake into our component libraries. As we get more experience at breaking down capabilities as microservice decoupling, one thing that we call the hybrid approach the new headless. Headless is, and this arguably a bit of controversy here, is the new monolith in some ways, where you're almost kicking the historic problems of monolithic platforms upstream to the front end. Because all you're doing is moving the agility problems elsewhere and the reliance and bottlenecks on IT. Now, they seem like compelling ways forward often, and initially these were driven by user experience benefits to the end product, but actually there's pretty much nothing that we can't deliver with a hybrid approach, but we also get the benefits of the self-service, the empowering a wider group of people, non-technical people, to be able to do more. So you can see here the hockey stick effect we're after, reuse of best practice components, and that allows us to move on to, importantly, to actually get to the goal of the experience itself, which is ultimately a personalized experience. We need to bring in data to do that. I find that projects get to, we're going to talk about this a bit more in detail later on, but we rarely get to the point when we're enriching those experiences early enough in the process. And part of this presentation today is to address that. It's how do we actually start to then build the base experiences we have been doing for many years, and how do we enrich them as fast as possible? And that should be the MVP. That shouldn't be the exception. I think that's my last slide.
Yeah, and I would just say that if you recall earlier, Alan was talking about that innovation gap. Again, that's the thing that we all struggle with. So one of the things that this platform concept, this enabling the business user, really focusing on finding that agility, means that we can unlock that innovation. So for the same net cost, we can actually achieve more, which makes us more competitive, and it also allows us to deliver what our customers are looking for.
And from our partners' bottom line as well, this can reflect in your own bottom line efficiencies. There's ways of things that you typically can't charge for and don't charge for. You'll be able to be more profitable, move faster. And ultimately, I think there's a strong case here and evidence around the profitability of these rollouts as well. But that's for perhaps another session. Next slide, please, Ron.
Oh, do you see
this is the one, yeah. Oh, right. Okay, this is the one. So I would say, importantly, this is the eat your own dog food slide. So we do this already and have done for a while. Ron talked about this briefly earlier on. every time we spin up a new demo instance and we customize it for our various demos, that when we support our partners, we're doing these things in a matter of hours, and we're producing personalized experiences. Those personalized experiences often include other integrations into potentially customer systems. And I've been at Acquia 6.5 years now. I can do this stuff in hours. What used to take me days or even weeks in some case, I'm achieving in hours. And that's a lot of that's to do with the progress that Ron's team have made over certainly the last couple of years. We do this already. We do eat our own dog food. And on that point, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, the last thing I would say here is, as I mentioned earlier, the real shift for us on our team came when we stopped thinking about building out sites and we started thinking about building that platform. And that shift is what unlocked this. So we've only got, our team has 3 people, including myself. I don't really have as much time as I'd like to do the day-to-day development. But just with a really small team, we support what, like 36 SEs who are building, maybe 1 or 2 sites a day, spinning them up, spinning them down, saving them, archiving them, deleting them, customizing them, injecting custom web components. And we manage the scope and the deployment and all of that. We don't build sites, the SEs do, but we build that platform. And it's really kind of changed the way that we work.
Yeah, and these are comprehensive, these are comprehensive demos. They're not basic demos. They include all the DXP capabilities, inbound, outbound marketing capabilities, commerce in some cases. They're not basic things. You can do a lot more with a lot less.
Exactly. So some of you probably have seen these, so I'm just going to go through these really quickly. These are kind of the 3 ways that people think. And for those that haven't, I just want to touch on this real quick. A lot of folks in the industry and a lot of customers, especially the technical customers, think that this is an either or choice. You're either going to be having a traditional CMS or you're going to be using a new fancy decoupled or headless CMS. The reality is that what Drupal and especially with Acquia we provide is that hybrid approach. And that's that hybrid approach that Gartner calls out is the new headless, the way to go. And in this hybrid approach, we can do all of the above potentially at the same time. So in this diagram, you see we have the CMS is powering a site. It has some front-end templates. Maybe those are managed in code. Maybe those are managed with Site Studio. We have the admin interface for people to create and manage content and manage those experiences. We are using decoupled components, web components that are just drag and drop by the experience builder onto the page that provide a decoupled integration point or app-like functionality. And then from the API that's embedded, we can also feed out to a decoupled application. And again, this is something that we demo all the time. What's really important, and when we're talking to customers, especially those that might already have their mindset, and I've got a call later today with a customer just like that, set on headless and thinking that it's the silver bullet. Because remember, in that challenge slide, Gartner calls out the hype around headless. And headless is very cool, and there's a lot of great applications, and it's a really useful tool to have, but it's not a silver bullet. So what we want to think about is we want to think about all of the things that the CMS is going to provide for us out of the box, and then determine which of those we need for any particular solution. Because if we need it for something and we're not going to take advantage of it in the CMS because we're going to go completely decoupled, now all of a sudden we have to either reinvent the wheel and recreate it, or we have to find some other system or some other service to provide that for us. When we go fully decoupled, the developer has a lot more power and the site builder author has a lot less power. And that's not necessarily a problem in the right application, but the risk is that the developer or the IT organization becomes a bottleneck. And that's a problem that we hear all the time. Even when you're not talking, even when you're just talking about legacy, that's a problem. So with fully decoupled, it becomes more so. And you're not able to fully leverage your site builders and your authors to do the things that they want to do. So again, as Alan pointed out, we want to be able to enable teams to move more in parallel. So how do you know what to do? Well, fully decoupled is not a bad thing. It's a very useful pattern we can use, specifically when you have a tightly controlled user experience. You don't need to have a marketing-based site. You're not going to be changing that experience often. If you have limited or very specific functionality that you're trying to embed, whether that's a mobile app or that's a kiosk, or it could be a progressive web app, digital signage is another example. When content creators don't need to control the experience, because again, it's tightly controlled, app focus instead of marketing focus. And then when your developer is not likely to become a bottleneck. If you've got the kind of situation where you can create this application and it can continue to live without needing a whole lot of continuous development and changes, developer is not going to be a bottleneck. It's just an investment that you make. Fully decoupled can be a great choice. However, most of the time for especially a lot of the marquee projects that we see, hybrid or even traditional really does end up being the right choice. If you've got non-technical, non-developer content creators, so people that don't push code to make things happen, and that way you can give the site builders and authors the visual control, you get preview, you get content moderation with the preview, which is nice. Integration with personalization. Personalization can be really, really hard. If you haven't had that experience yet, it can be very difficult when you go for a decoupled app. And basically that list of features, anytime you need something that the CMS already provides, think twice before you risk throwing it out. And a really good example that I like to use, especially these days, as more and more people are doing shopping online, is if you think about a Home Depot or you think about a Target, Walmart, those types of places, their primary site, the primary experience is a complex website with decoupled integrations. You're going to be shopping, you're going to be having a wish list, you're going to be adding things, you're going to be doing your checkout. Then you have a mobile app, which is used in conjunction with it. And that mobile app typically has more limited but more specific functionality, tracking your order and delivery, arranging for or notifying them for curbside pickup, getting notifications on when your order is ready. You might potentially be shopping through that, but you probably won't. And so that's a really great example that we can use with customers, because there's two things there. One, we're seeing that for that more complex marquee experience, we really do want to be using this hybrid approach to create that. But two, we're also seeing that there is often a need for some type of ancillary tool on the other side, which would be that app. And that can also consume some of that content from the primary site. So when we talk about the hybrid approach, this is actually the way I typically talk about Acquia Commerce Framework, but it really applies to everything. At a very high level, what we want to do is break that paradigm, because remember, a traditional way of thinking, monolithically, as a Drupal developer, as a PHP or a .NET or a backend developer, we want to do an integration on the backend. As a JavaScript developer or a decoupled app builder, we want to do an integration on the front end. And often the best thing to do is to do the hybrid, to do both. And the way that you can make that choice is that anything that is cacheable, that you can cache at the CDN layer, you typically want to consider using a backend integration for. The reason is that if you can get that data into the CMS, the business user can control the experience, especially when you're talking about Site Studio, being able to manage templates and styles. Drupal's caching layer, as you well know, is really powerful. It's great. We can do purges. Then you've got the CDN for edge side caching. And now everything that's cacheable is going to be assembled in the CMS. It's going to be rendered. It's going to be cached, delivered super fast. All of your assets, everything that you need. For the things that are not cacheable, that's going to be things that are transactional, like checkout or add to cart, things that are live, for example, a stock ticker, or in the case of commerce, availability, if something is in stock, that needs to be a live call. Personalization is another great example. Those are things that should all happen on the front end. And in fact, Acquia's personalization does happen client side. The best way to do this is to use web components that make direct calls, and you just do that in the browser to do what you need to do. We'll show you here in a second. There's a really great method to make those available for the business user to place those components, even though their action takes place in the browser. And this is where we get into that hybrid space. The combination here is that we get something that's really scalable and really performant. So if we think about a very traditional, boring shopping experience online, so we can see a catalog here, you can see how what's actually happening behind the scenes. These blue boxes are actually personalizations that we're taking advantage of. These pink boxes are all web components. So these are things that are non-cacheable, like my cart or my account, my login. This is not necessarily a Drupal login. This could be a decoupled. Even the add to cart, or if we had an availability or stock option, stock listing option here, those would be web components, so that when I click the button, it's going to be communicating not only with the cart that's on the site, but also with the e-commerce platform. Meanwhile, everything that's in white here is either done with Drupal, like the related articles could easily be views, menu, logo, using Site Studio to control templates of the page, templates of the product, and then even using search to manage the faceted search options here. So another way to look at this, and again, this would be kind of an example. Any of we've got Drupal commerce here just in this slide, but this could be any commerce system, commerce tools, Elastic Path, BigCommerce, you name it. Ideally, we will use Migrate API to create a one-way feed of cacheable product data into the backend. That allows us to use Site Studio to manage the experience and push this forward. That gives us caching. Then we have the web components. The web components are then what are going to be making the live calls transactionally to whatever system they have. And of course, you can turn this, there's a great module in Drupal for PWA, for a progressive web application, which you can actually just turn on and get a lot of that functionality of a PWA turnkey out of the box. So we've talked a lot about optimizing the experience for the site builder. Real quickly, I want to show you what it looks like for the JavaScript developer. There's a great module. If you don't know about it, you should check it out. It's called Component. It allows you to take any web component in pretty much any language you want. You add a YAML file, and then that web component becomes discoverable as a block in the system. Then using whatever you like, core block placement or layout builder, or in this case, you see Site Studio, you can place those components on a page to assemble and create the experience you want. We can actually also take that to the next level, because if we look here, we've got the different view modes for, in this case, the cacheable product data. You'll see this, pay attention to this list view mode here. Here we see in Site Studio, we've created a template for this list view mode, image, heading with skew in the center, and then the price. We can actually then take that, what the system is rendering for the HTML that's cached, in this case, an HTML snippet for any of the different view modes. Those can actually be consumed by other systems, but also in the case you just saw, and in Acquia Commerce Framework, we have examples of this. We're actually using it to determine what shows up for each product line item. All highly cacheable, works really, really great. But also remember, this is going to give that business user a little bit more control over the experience by making those components more manageable. Okay, last section here I want to jump into really quickly, and this is where we want to take that challenge we talked about in the beginning, which was that innovation gap, and we want to flip that around and turn that into the opportunity. And this is where you have the opportunity to really kind of get ahead of this curve. So before, we had the old way of thinking, which was based on monolithic site building and application building patterns. We've shifted our mindset, and now we're thinking about these composable experience platforms that we're going to build with these tools. That means that we can move faster, we can be more efficient with the use of resources, and for the exact same budget, we have now been able to create a way to cover that gap and provide the innovation. So this is what's going to get us to that seamless journey. Now, I did some research, and CDP alone is going to be about a $10 billion market in the next few years, and it's about a quarter of that today. And we're seeing that there's a commoditization of CMS. That's going to continue to happen. There's also a rise in low-code and no-code tools. And for anyone who's in the business of building sites and applications, that could potentially be something that could keep you up at night. However, the opportunity is that we've got all these great abilities and tools that people don't know how to use and they don't know how to build with. That's CDP, machine learning, multi-channel marketing, content strategy. The great thing about this is that not only is this a way to fill that gap and provide additional value and to customers, which is additional revenue to yourself, the beautiful thing is that this moves us out of the sunk cost model of building apps and into this rolling model of delivering value that's measurable and can be quantified. So when we talk about the 5 steps, as Alan mentioned, to actually get all the way through, a lot of times people kind of stop somewhere around 2 or 3. If you change your mindset to that platform mindset of building out that accelerated website delivery system, that's going to help drive bottom line efficiency. That's what makes you faster. It costs less to achieve the same. Then you take those savings, you take the budget that you can free up in that way, and you reapply it to get to that top line growth. The top line growth is what's filling the gap. That's the experience, that's personalization, that's CDP, that's integrations with all of the data sources in the back end, like CRM and PIM and transaction systems, machine learning to figure out and gain insights from that and to drive further personalizations for that seamless journey. That top line growth is where your customers need to be thinking and going, and they need you to lead them there. So I like to think about it like this, and I've had this conversation with a few partners. This is where you want to get to. You want to be having a conversation with your clients, not, hey, we built this application for you, let us know when you need another one, but hey, this year you spent $1 million with us, and I can show you here in the metrics and how we tracked that we drove profits by 5 million. So you put $1 million into our machine and we delivered 5 million coming back out. So the only question I have is next year, do you only want another 5 million or do you want 10 million? And by implication, do you want to give us $1 million budget, or do you want to give us 2 million, or do you want to give us 5? This gets you into that place where you're able to take that composable platform and build on top of it with the skills and with the drive and with those new tools that are coming out every day to help those customers actually not only achieve that value, but measure it and track that back to the efforts that you put in. So the way that we do that is with all of the stuff that we provide in the DXP. Acquia CMS, which was announced at Engage, is coming out pretty soon. That's going to make it faster. It's kind of lightning plus. So we're actually going to be able to get going a lot faster. It's got integrations for our products. It uses best practices. Site Studio, as you know, gives you the ability to push almost all, if not all, of the theming and design work, which is usually about 40 to 50% of any site effort, into the UI, moving much, much faster and giving a lot more control to those business users. For sites that are, for customers that are multi-site or have multiple brands, that multi problem, Site Factory remains the kind of preeminent way to manage that at scale. And that's the best way to do it. Commerce Framework is not a product. It's not a module. It's a reference architecture that kind of shows that hybrid model for integrating with any commerce tool. We're seeing more of this. We're going to continue to see more of this, especially with the pandemic. And so when you combine that approach with those other tools and that composable experience platform, you're going to be able to deliver something that nobody else can, which is the exact recommendations that Gartner and the other analysts make. Everyone is talking about composable commerce. I'm really not seeing anyone that's truly delivering on that in a big way, but that's something that we do, and we do it every day. CDP, of course, CDP and data is going to be huge. We're going to talk about that real quick. And then personalization and Campaign Studio. So traditionally, we've talked about content is king. So as you know, we have our Drupal cloud. That's kind of the the core of this idea of content. But if content is king, then data is queen. This is that new world we want to move into. Sorry, I had my phone took over my headset just like Alan's. Something just real quick to look at here. We've got a lot of resources and we got more coming out about Marketing Cloud, CDP, playbooks for what to do. We're going to be providing this and promoting this to customers and prospects. But here's the thing, we can give them all the information in the world, but what they really need is they need you to come along and show them how to do it, help them understand how to do it, how to implement it, how to adapt these playbooks and these guides to their needs, and how to measure and get the value that they're trying to accomplish. They're going to need somebody to help them, and then those that step up are going to be the ones that are going to be well primed. CDP offers a much more advanced omni-channel profile because we can integrate more easily with all those other data sources. Like you can see here, we've got email, store visit, support call, clicks, opens. We're tracking all of that as part of the profile and driving some of the machine learning, as well as true identity resolution, fuzzy matching as opposed to just direct matching. And you can see we've got some examples here of the impact that has on customers and how they can get more focused and how they can drive more revenue per customer and actually increase not only transactions, but revenue and lifetime revenue of customers. Machine learning, everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to do it. Not many people know how. Become an expert and use our tools to do it, because that's where you're going to be seeing a ton of value. Again, coming in and doing this and delivering these things to customers are going to be the things that are going to help you move forward. And then, of course, being able to take all of that data, ingest it, make sense of it, and make it actionable is going to be huge. So just to finish up here, DXP is this set of tools that we have. This is how we fill the gap. We overcome those challenges with the only open DXP. This is where we get that flexibility. This is where we get the ability to adapt the tools to a customer and to use best of breed. If a customer has an existing CDP and they're not looking to change or don't want to invest in ours, you can still work with them with all the rest of our tools. You can still be the expert that's going to help them. So keep that stuff in mind. And then, of course, here's the product suite that we've now evolved into. And all of these great tools are here. But remember, it's not the technology. It's the mindset. It's the thinking about how we're going to do those things. That's where the challenge is. That's where your competition is struggling. That's why there's still that gap. So get yourself in the gap, turn it into an opportunity, and then you'll be able to be the one who wins out.
Fantastic. Ron, Alan, thank you guys so much. We had over 70 slides today. I can't believe we got through them all in about 55 minutes. Folks, we are going to jump into the quiz. While I'm doing this, make sure you use the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen. Ask your questions of myself, Molly, Ron, and Alan. Whatever we don't get to today, we will grab Ron and Alan afterwards, get answers, and get those out to you. But first, while we've got folks here, before you move on to your next meeting, let's dive into this quiz. I'm going to launch the poll in 1 second, and the first person to answer all of these correctly will win a $20 Amazon gift card. So we want to get that to you. All right, I'm about to launch the poll in 3, 2, 1. Poll is live. Answer correctly. And as we're going, submit your questions for Ron and Alan in the Q&A.
Hey Dave, do I get to do the poll as well?
I think that would be against the rules, Ron.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
All right. 10 more seconds on the poll. We've got a bunch of answers in. Get your answers in. Get your answers in. There are wrong answers today. All right, last couple seconds. I'm going to end the poll. We'll get to a couple of questions. All right. Great. Thank you guys very much. We will announce the winner and let the winner know as soon as we've gone through the data. So, all right, we've got just a couple of minutes for Q&A. And like I said, whatever we don't get to today, we will make sure we grab Ron and Alan afterwards, get those answers and get them to you. So let's see here. Will Acquia CMS replace Lightning or live alongside it? Scott Moore is asking the question.
It's going to live alongside it. Lightning is, as I understand it, don't quote me here, but as I understand it, Lightning is going to eventually kind of just go into maintenance and just become kind of a standard distro. But Acquia CMS is going to be the way of the future. And I know that our professional services team, which also helped to design and build it, is going to be using that for their builds in the future as well. So keep an eye on it. It's good stuff. We're replatforming Demo Factory in our demo framework on top of Acquia CMS, if that tells you anything.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Here's one from Sergey asking about Acquia Cloud Next. Is this going to be a rebuild rewrite of the Acquia platform from the ground up? What are the improvements? Big question, but if you've got a top line answer for that one, I know we'll be doing some more sessions on Acquia Cloud Next in the near future, but what do you have for that one, Ron?
Absolutely, yes. Starting over from scratch using a Kubernetes-based approach. And it's something that's been in the works for quite some time, and lots of good stuff there. I can't even get into all the details, but I would say keep your eyes open, get in that beta if you want to play with it and find out some more.
All right, terrific. Folks, we're just at about at 11. I want to make sure we help you get to your next meeting. Scott, I do see another question from you. Diego, I see your question about CDP sandboxes. We're going to take those offline, make sure we get some answers. We'll share those with all partners and certainly with you guys who ask those questions.
10 seconds for you, Scott. Yes, it's I'm actually trying to get security approval for it now. That's the only thing holding it up, but it's already been reviewed by several core maintainers. Component module is solid and fantastic. I would have no problem. We're using it. Go use it and let me know what you think.
Awesome. You're the man, Ron. Thank you guys so much, Ron, Alan, Molly. Thank you very much. Thank you to myself. You're welcome. Great to see you guys all. We'll get the recording and the slides out to you guys in the next day or so, along with these answers to the other questions. In the meantime, reach out to your partner managers if you've got opportunities or questions. Email partners@acquia.com with anything else that you don't know where to route it. And have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next time.